probably more anarchy than art. So resistance gives form. Heard great artists say this. Limitations reveal style. Resistance. Something to go, or else it's like in green lights. If life's just nothing but green lights, if you got no yellows and reds, no reasons to pause or crises that stop you, resistance? What are you just going to go in circles till you run out of gas and get dizzy? I don't see that. How do we evolve or devolve without resistance? Now, picking the right resistance is an art in itself. It's challenging. I've been clumsy with it in my life, especially when I got famous and got success. Man, enough people telling me I love you and the caviar and the champagne. I was like, what the shit? Why me? I don't deserve any of this. What I did, I'd fuck things up on purpose just to say, like, I tripped myself running down hills so I could bloody my own nose and go, now I can feel. Okay, now my heels are on the ground. It's clumsy. So I don't think we need the kind of resistance that we create that can harm us or get in our way for getting in our way's sake, because I've come to learn, and I think we all are, no, when things are going really well, resistance is going to come. If you have any ambition, resistance is going to come.
We often see resistance as a form.
So what I hear Matthew saying is that resistance gives form. You've got to choose the kind of resistance you engage in on purpose. He's talking about needing to put himself back in a position where he could be a beginner again, face real risk, even real failure, after knocking it out of the park hit movie after hit movie. And what that reminds me of is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Say it with me, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the guy they call the father of flow. He's the one who put a name to that state we all know but never talk about, right? Total focus, total immersion, where time disappears and you're just locked in. But the pop science version of flow stops at get in the zone. The real research, Wheeler and Kotler out of the Flow Genome Project, goes a level deeper. They mapped it as a cycle with 4 stages. And here's the thing nobody tells you. It is not a light switch. You don't just flip into flow. You cycle through it every time. Stage 1 is struggle. This is you in over your head, brain running fast and jagged, what's called beta waves, stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline flooding your system because the problem in front of you is bigger than your current skill level. This is the part everybody hates and everybody tries to skip. Stage 2 is release. You back off, you breathe, and your body flushes out that stress chemistry. Your brain waves slow down into what's called alpha. Think of it as the on-ramp to flow. Stage 3 is flow itself. Brain waves drop even slower and get more integrated, theta and gamma, and your body's rewarding you with dopamine, endorphins, even a chemical called anandamide, which is basically your body's own version of what's in weed. That's peak performance. That's the state everyone's chasing. Stage 4, and this is the one almost nobody respects, is recovery. Deep rest, delta waves, serotonin, and oxytocin. This is where the skill you just built actually gets locked in. Skip this stage, and you never get back to real flow. You just get burnout wearing flow's clothes. Here's the mechanism underneath all of it. Flow needs what's called the challenge skills ratio. Your skill level has to sit just slightly below the challenge in front of you, stretching, not snapping. That's it. That's the whole secret. Now look at what happened to Matthew. Hit after hit after hit. His skill had blown so far past the challenge in front of him that the ratio broke. No stretch left, just green lights. So his body did clumsily on instinct exactly what the ratio demands. It manufactured a struggle, bloodied his own nose on purpose because some part of him knew, even without the vocabulary, that you cannot access flow without first re-entering struggle. He didn't have the flow genome matrix. He just had the instinct. Simple, not easy.
But let's just take a look at this process, because the first thing to dispel is that flow is a state, right? So it comes and it goes. It's not an ever on kind of thing. But it's not like a light switch. It's not just it's on and I'm in it, or it's off and I'm someplace else. It's a cycle, and it has at least 4 distinct stages. So if we take a look at how those progress, the first, whether you're more of a fan of M. Scott Peck and The Road Less Traveled, right, or Buddha and his noble truths, right? Either way, life's a bitch, right? Life is struggle, and that's how it starts. And we start by being in over our heads. We start by finding ourselves in a situation or a condition, and this could be late night code delivery, this could be some new big business problem, it could be relational, whatever it is. And we start out of our depth, and we end up with a bit of a sort of angel and a devil dialogue on our shoulder. So our prefrontal cortex that houses our executive function, what we normally think of as me, right? And the thing we've been rewarded for in school and rewarded for in work, for being smart and controlled and precise and delivering things on time, we try and solve it full frontal assault. But the problem is bigger than that. It's bigger than our capabilities. So we start toggling back to kind of our primitive sense of self, our amygdala, right? And is this a fight or flight situation? Do I need to pull the ripcord? And meanwhile, my brainwaves are in quite rapid beta. This is me trying to solve binary problems, and this may not be one. And then I start getting cortisol, and I start getting adrenaline in my system, and I'm really starting to get jacked. And it's either I'm going to collapse at this point, right? It's going to be a fetal position, or has anybody ever put on boxing gloves at the gym, or tried to do something like that, and then you get like Mike Tyson, you say everybody's got a plan until they get hit, right? Have you guys ever experienced an adrenalized response? Right, where your knees are wobbly, or even if it's just cop lights in the car behind you, and it drives by, and then and it just pools in your leg, and you're like, and you suddenly feel like you need to puke on the side of the road, right? That's the adrenaline response. So that'll take most of us out, unless either through just sheer fatigue, or dumb luck, or knowing that there's this actually loop I'm in, I get into the next phase, which is the relaxation response. And typically, and sort of pro tip, when they did the research with the DARPA snipers as well as Olympic archers and everybody else, the way they got into this, the way they made that shift was focusing on breath. So tip of the hat to all your guys' meditation practices, right? Focus on breath, lower your respiratory rate, and you start approaching equilibrium. Nitric oxide enters the bloodstream and flushes away the fight or flight chemicals, flushes away the cortisol, flushes away the norepinephrine, and then brings in the dopamine, the endorphins, and the anandamide. Okay? At that point, my brain waves go from faster beta into a slower alpha wave. And I'm right there on the doorstep of the flow state. I move into the flow state, and again, there are full gradations, right? I mean, you can have what Stephen had, which was this sort of spontaneous healing, quasi-mystical experience, like, oh man, I'm one with everything. Or you could just have hey, all the lights were green and I got to work 5 minutes early, right? How's it going? So the point here is that if you go into the deeper flow state, you don't just hang out in that alpha where I'm resourceful, I've got insights. I actually move into an even deeper, slower state known as theta. And typically that's one that only shows up in lifetime meditators. A lot of any of the studies at Madison on Tibetan meditators, right? That's what you would see those guys be able to get into way more often than us. And the other time is kind of in that threshold between waking and sleeping. So if you've ever been lying on the couch and you're watching TV, West Wing used to do this to us all the time, just soporific, right? But in that moment before you're unconscious, right, you're in a hypnagogic state. And that is typically, it's so deeply relaxed, most of us just miss it. We just go to sleep, we nod off. But if you've got discipline and training, you can actually stay there and be alert and aware. And there and only there can come these lightning bolts of gamma. And that becomes these gestalt integrations. That becomes sort of your chocolate and my peanut butter and yeehaw, we got some Reese's. It becomes those moments of massive lateral integration, right, that absolutely change the game. Okay? And finally, and this is a critical stage that most of us forget about, we just don't, oops, I just did that. There we go. Most of us forget about the recovery phase. right? But I'm sure you guys have come across all this stuff with kind of learning theory, which is that when we think we're learning, we're not really learning. When we're doing stuff, all we're doing is collecting data. And that most of our pattern consolidation and actually annexing of new skills is happening as we sleep. And specifically when we sleep in delta waves.